Hello, welcome to Big Bang Radio Spotlights. This is the show where we talk to independent artists from all around the world all about their music and their process for making it. I'm your host, Isaac Anderson, and today I get to sit down with the band Because Villains. Without any further ado, here's the interview. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. I like to start at the beginning of kind of the musical mind, all my interviews with my artists, so I thought I might ask you, Travis, what is your first musical memory?
First musical memory. I have an older brother who was always in bands, played bass growing up, and me doing my duty as the annoying youngest of three would constantly knock on his door because I knew he had drumsticks in there. So I'd knock in the door, and one morning he was particularly aggravated. Knocked on the door, pound on the door, and he had my his favorite record, mine, when I was a little kid, Fleetwood Mac, The Chain was on, right? And so anyway, first musical memory, him picking me up, putting me on his lap with the big fat drumsticks that I could barely hold, right? And doing the breakdown, the shuffle during the bass breakdown on the snare. It was awesome.
Very nice, very nice. Well, I guess that kind of leads into where we're going to go next, and that is, well, how exactly did you get started playing music, really kind of formally even trying to get real serious about it?
Yeah, I've been kind of, I was a performer, right? So actor, all that great stuff, through college. Did all that stuff, but always, music was always there first. Music was always there last. Still there. I was in bands through high school, all that stuff, rather than do like the actual band route, right? Like in school. I was always in punk bands, right? Prog bands, experimental bands, playing drums. So, music was always there. My grandma actually taught. There's this storied, kind of mythical thing in my family. My grandma taught piano lessons during the Depression, right? So she was a concert pianist, and at her height back in the day, she did a gig at Carnegie, which was like her thing, right? So she kind of, I'm self-taught. She actually was self-taught herself. I think it's just something that kind of runs. In the family, but for me, music is the, music has always been the alpha and omega, as it were.
Wonderful. It sounds like you're involved in a few other different entertainment mediums too, like the acting and everything. I guess that kind of you just sound like an entertainer all around, basically. I didn't know about the acting thing. So
yeah, I think for me, and it has a lot to do with the music. I largely did leave all that behind. For me, which is so strange, I know you and me had a back and forth about video. Video is such a new medium for me. I'm the auditory guy and the live theater guy, right? So yeah, I did professional theater. That whole thing, I think, for me, it was always, there's the crafting and element thing. There's the artist piece to it. And I got in a rhythm where it was, this is great. This is happening. I can feel it. There's the interplay that you need, energy is good, but it was always someone else's words, right? It was always someone else's priority, and on the side, always, gigging, playing to empty rooms, the coffee house circuit, the tour thing. So it became far too big to not be the primary focus for me. So.
Heard that, man. Well, since we're kind of on the topic of it, I guess now we should probably mention why we're here today, and that's Because Villains. And this is your own musical project. But I don't want to describe it. How would you describe Because Villains to people, and how exactly did it start?
Oh man. How long do we have for this interview?
Get paid by the hour, man. You take as long as you want.
Nice. Excellent. I had spent a while on the road. Back in the day, it was the whole Travis James thing, right? So it was actually my second record come out, but I got some, it got some fun attention, music festivals, that whole thing, playing the main stage here, playing this main stage there, opening for this guy, opening for that guy. Got some licensing hits, really, really fun. Taught me a lot, that record. But, the live band I put together at the time was Travis James and The Truth, right? So I think, learning a lot from touring that record, gigging that record, contacts, talking to people, getting to meet different producers, label folks, et cetera, et cetera. You kind of learn what's right for you. Frankly, for me, this Because Villains thing came as a birth. I think so many people, so many musicians, it's the stereotype of the industry. They're trying to achieve, yes, their vision, but a lot of people can get lost in what they think they should be, what they think they need to project. Interestingly enough, the Because Villains thing, the entity that I'm creating, is the thing truly to be really what I am at its base, the most pure thing. Not hiding behind anything. It's like I said, do the thing that scares you the most. So, hell, man, it's being vulnerable, being that vulnerable and out there with the messages. Some of the themes on the record it's intimidating, scary as hell. Since it released, I've just people coming out of the woodwork, blowing this up, blowing that up, and it's interesting. So I guess taking what I would call analog experience of pushing my release, my second record, Mental Notes, the Because Villains thing kind of came around. It's a life view. It's kind of me at the most core, the most kind of vulnerable I can be, and that's sort of in a simple form, without getting TMI on you, sort of where Because Villains is kind of at right now. The music, we're starting things off really, really well. I'm super humbled and excited about some of the inertia kind of Nesting Glitch Case has right now. It kind of is a permanent grin on my face for the last week, but it's what brought me here talking to you, which is an awesome thing. So
awesome,
just tip of the iceberg, man. Tip of the iceberg.
Absolutely, man. And I'm happy to talk to you too, because anybody that's heard your music, I didn't know about your punk background, but I can definitely hear a little bit of that inside the music, even though it's not necessarily punk music. I can hear a little bit of that edge. I can hear a little bit of that attitude. Before we get into the sound too much, because I do want to talk about your sound in just a second, how exactly did you get the name Because Villains? It's a really unique name.
Oh, man. It's funny. Also, I think a long story, right? It's a philosophy thing. It started off, I guess I should have picked up when Mental Notes was released, that record. It's on the website now, all that great. You can stream it as well. Fun record. At the risk of maybe being too personal, I would say life took a really dramatic turn. For me personally. So there was a lot of, dark period, right? Let's sum it up in a nice pretty button and call it a dark period. There's actually a few. So Because Villains is kind of the rise of that, and kind of coming to terms with myself, kind of the world around me and what's here now. And it's a life philosophy. Does the bad exist without the good, right? So, but each person is going to get caught up in defining what that is. So what is bad? Is it not wearing a mask in COVID when you go on a grocery run? Is that truly what is, would degrade a human's character? What is that? Because it's different thresholds for each person. And then the cyclical nature of it. What starts? What is it that starts the artistic process, the communication process? It's a spark of something, but it's got to start somewhere, chicken or the egg, right? So Is it the villain? Is it the hero? That's for anyone to decide. I read a book by Chuck Klosterman that changed my life. It's called I Wear the Black Hat. And actually it sort of was something cooking back there, but Chuck just blew my mind. If you haven't read the book, Isaac, you should read. It's a good read.
I'll check it out, man. I'm big on the audio books and everything, so I'll definitely check that one out.
Yeah. So, and without, like I said, it's tough for me not to geek out, about this stuff, but there's kind of a life philosophy thing. It's the beginning and the end. It's kind of everything. And two, I absolutely love language. I love writing. I love words. And I love the fact that it's abrupt, incorrect words that shouldn't necessarily belong together. Visually I like it. Texturally I like it. It literally hit one day, and it was just like, oh, it's been that all along. So a lot of passionate feelings around the name, but thanks for asking. But yeah,
no problem.
It's a lot of things.
I guess now we should hop into the live show train. I imagine you guys have played a couple live shows. I know you said you've been hopping around playing music for quite some time. Yeah. What is one of your most memorable shows?
Yeah, we'd love to do the live stuff, by the way. Let's talk after. That'd be great.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I have one specific memory of when everything there's a few actually, damn. But one memory that I will always look back on so fondly, I think time and place. I think it's just, I befriended a club owner in Midtown, Manhattan, a place called Fat Baby NYC was the club. I don't think it exists anymore, sadly. But we just hit it off, and she dug the music. And I was, every time we'd be on the road, every time we'd start a leg of the tour, I'd obviously, prioritize, New York, right? Best city in the world. But it was this just phenomenal bar. Underground, there was, the music hall was underground. There was a second bar upstairs. Went down. I can just remember it was like November. I think it was cold, tight, just a super great crowd, tiny spot, dingy place. And man, we were just set up as a 3-piece. And it was just, I'm going to watch this later, and I'm going to like hit myself when I say this word, but it was just magical, man. Like, it was just a big sweaty mess. Like a beautiful mess. Sounded great. We were just really listening and in tune with each other. One of my favorite shows of all time. I would add, we were playing South by Southwest. God, I don't even remember what year that was. We were playing, and what should be like your greatest show, right? I mean, you're at South by. This is like the heart of music city. I mean, this is the blues, this is blues rock, this is SRV, And first time playing there, and I swear to God, I don't even know what happened to this point. My jack was fine. So I build guitars, right? Also, I'm obsessed. I build and constantly I'm messing with them and tweaking them and stuff. But so I knew, my input jack was fine on my telly. So it must have been a cable issue. Cable went out, just no guitar, man. Oh, just man. Dead. Also as a 3-piece. So it's just, one of the most fond memories of a show, just a great time. Everything was right. The party afterwards. And then in Austin, going out to the street after the show, right? And just looking at the guys and just being like, we soldiered through. We did fine, but it's just one of those things you don't plan for. Hey, you got to get through it,
Well, now I think we should get to your latest album, which is Nesting Glitch Case, and it really just showcased kind of these powerful rock things that we've been discussing a little earlier in the interview. By the way, I imagine, and you can kind of say how you got the name in just a second, but is this a play on Resting B Face? You know, like, you know what I mean?
Maybe, Isaac. Maybe it's whatever you want it to be.
Okay, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I know, and this can be an artistic thing. That's what I took out of it. But
I would say, you know, I love the open to interpretation thing. I would say that if that's what rings in your head, that puts a smile on my face. Put it that way.
Well, okay. Well, maybe you just made my my nesting glitch face into a nesting rest face. There you go. There you go.
Nice.
Well, anyway, your new EP, Nesting Glitch Case, like I said, really showcases some great stuff. What was the process of recording that album?
Oh man. You know, I just did I do this thing called Inside the Album on my on Facebook. So at Because Villains on Facebook. Check it out. But I do these little write-ups because this to me is very personal. So, you know, like I said, man, like if it's 10 people listening to this and reading these things, it's been a lot more lately. That's great. If it's 100 people, awesome. It's so, but to me, it's not about hiding behind anything. Like, I'm a pretty big nerd. I'm a pretty huge dork. You know what I mean? And I'm unapologetic about that. I think so as part of the kind of Facebook thing and kind of putting it out there, giving birth to this thing, to these write-ups called Inside the Album, right? I recently, wrote some notes about Nesting Glitch Case. Nesting Glitch Case, was originally penned as a 10 song full album release. I think because of the times, you're ticking up, you pre-plan for these things, you're in post-production for these things, you're looking at launch dates, you're moving things forward, you're moving things back. And in this COVID world and everything going on, for me, and with essentially the launch of Because Villains, right? This is it. This is the first record. I had a couple thoughts. One was, let's do this thing short and sweet. Let's do this. Let's take 3. I would argue 2, call them fun songs. Goodbye is probably not as fun a song. There's some deep things happening there, but it's great to rock out to, right? I mean, so, parse it down and to kind of be where we are now. And where we are now is you're in your house, I'm in my house, and we ain't going anywhere. You know what I mean? And I think, I can't even see my band. You know what I mean? It's crazy, but we're all down there, and I think all making it for the better.
Awesome. Well, I definitely enjoyed it on a personal level, and you did mention just a few minutes ago the song "Goodbye," which is like I think that's the first one on that record.
It is. It's the single, the lead single, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's super strong, and that's the one I've been listening to the most. What was the inspiration behind that song? Because it feels like it's like you're letting your soul be bare in that song for some reason. I just felt like you were trying to really just get something off your chest, like you said.
Yeah, it's weird, it's strange to talk about, it really is, and it's funny, it never not gets strange to talk about. Doesn't mean I don't like talking about it. Goodbye is, there's a lot of different meanings there, right? So I always love the open to interpretation. One of the things I mentioned on my page on Facebook, I feel like these belong to you now, to the listener. It's like, own this, take this, marry your feelings to this thing. And if you can rock out with it and it gives you the feeling of empathy, the feeling that someone else feels that, and it moves you, damn, it's like every time that happens, a fairy gets its wings, it's good stuff. But, Goodbye. Look, it can be. It's literal, right? I mean, it could mean, you know, I think at its base, a lot of people will perceive it as, oh, hey, this is a breakup song, right? This is a, bad relationship, toxic this, toxic that, and it's kind of over. I think it can be a lot of things. I think it's letting go of the past, letting go of some demons, maybe. I think it's more of a hello than really anything. Kind of new way things are. I also thought personally, because I'm a massive nerd, that I thought it would be awesome to have the lead first single from the project be called Goodbye, which is just kind of entertaining, right? So yeah, whether it's, goodbye, the end of the way things used to be, the end of your life, the end of it all, right? I view it right now as an empowering thing, as, like I said, almost more of a hello. Here we are. Click us off. Let's go.
Absolutely. I think it was really poetic, and it's a great way to start out the album. The whole album's great. And anybody can find that on Spotify and everything. But I actually, where can people find you on social media? Where can people listen to the music? I might as well just go ahead and let you say it instead of me trying to, give it a
for sure,
version.
Man. Becausevillains.com, straight up. My second record, Mental Notes, is on there. And Nest and Glitch Case, you can stream from there. There is an unreleased track on there, an early take from the next record, actually already on there. So check it out. I mean, that is a little bit more cerebral. I like to keep things moving, right? So there's not just one kind of sound. There's a lot of different influences. But, I'm into the singer-songwriter thing, blues, rock, the list goes. We could talk about that for another hour. But on social, so becausevillains.com, Instagram.com/becausevillains, Facebook.com/becausevillains. Right now, that's it. YouTube channel, like I said, working on some pre-production stuff on all that stuff. That's going to be up and running here in a little bit.
Awesome. Well, sounds like earlier in the interview you mentioned you were also working on some new stuff. What's next for Because Villains? Are you planning on releasing anything new? Especially because at the time of recording this, we're all in quarantine with this COVID-19 stuff. So I don't know. You seem like a really passionate and creative person. So I imagine you're not going to just sit there and twiddle your thumbs. You got to be doing something.
Right. Thank you. I think it is. Over the course of what's been happening here, man, there's like 3 albums worth of stuff that's on the whiteboard over here. Like there's a lot. This is one of the things that I've been saying, to folks, who've been asking. This is tip of the iceberg stuff. There's a lot more coming, a lot of fun stuff. I think right now I'm just enjoying the nesting glitch case party, as it were, in quarantine, where I can, right? And by the way, Isaac, I view this as a party because I took a shower today for this. So, I mean, like in a COVID world, man, dude, I mean, it's a big deal.
Nobody's going to know if you do or not. So, I mean, I appreciate that, that you let us know and that you did it. That's the biggest thing.
I mean, because these days, actually, I wore a shirt. I don't have sweatpants on. This is insane, man. But what's next after taking a shower and putting on a real shirt? There's I would argue more intimate material. I got a lot more to say. Some ambitious goals, and namely, just a lot of singles, a lot of albums in place, man. So
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Travis. I really do appreciate it. It was great talking with you. Before we go, I do have one more question for you. I ask all my guests before they leave this, because as we were talking beforehand, I'm a big movie fan. Sounds like you like film too. It sounds like you like all the art in the different mediums. And I believe the two mediums are not too far away from each other. And right before we go, I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite movie?
Wow. Also, not an easy question as a movie
This
lover,
is always
right?
the one that trips people up. This is always the one that like everybody gets stumped on.
You realize I have to ask you this question after I'm done rambling. I have because I have to know.
Okay. Well, you first, and I'll tell you mine.
Okay. Oh, nice. At the onset of that question, I have to say Shawshank Redemption. Shawshank is such a well-written movie. I think that's always big for me. It's aged very well. It kind of gets you from all corners. It's such a tough question to answer. It's like, man, we didn't even talk music influences today, which is a tougher question for sure. Yeah. But it's always tough. My God, Usual Suspects, Memento, Chris Nolan. Like, oh my God, all these things are just flying in my head right now. But to keep it brief, I'd have to kind of stay in that vein. How about you?
So anybody that's watching this knows I kind of bounce between three movies as like my favorite, but the one I probably go with the most is Full Metal Jacket. So I like Full Metal Jacket. The first half of that movie is better than the second half, but that's such a strong like first part of the movie that like you can't really deny. That's like one of the best things ever. Just that whole story of Lawrence and how like does it really take that to become what it needs to be, and is that really necessary? And on that, like a more modern movie that I really like that's basically Full Metal Jacket for musicians is Whiplash. That movie is so like right up my alley with that. Like, does it take that to become someone great? Like, do you need to go through that? Do you need someone to push you that hard? Is he pushing that hard, or is he just mean? That movie is extremely fascinating. It's essentially Full Metal Jacket, but it's great. I don't even care. It's great.
Right.
And also, like, I like Children of Men. Not to pop around too many things, but like, it's hard to pick between those. But out of all of them, I probably lean towards Full Metal Jacket because I think that one's probably the most that they did it first. Children of Men's pretty great though.
There's a reason why it's in the legacy spectrum, right? I mean, it's talking about that is the same thing, and music is talking about. What are you going to do? Not say Led Zeppelin is one of the greatest bands of all time?
Yeah, like just because everyone else says it doesn't mean it's not true. You know what I mean? Like, it's so true. Like, Stanley Kubrick knew how to make a movie. Thanks to Because Villains for sitting down with me and talking all about their music. If you guys want to see more interviews just like this, you can go to facebook.com/Studio67NCC, youtube.com/NASCOMCollege, or you can find us on Instagram at Studio67NCC. Thank you all for watching. I'm Isaac Anderson, and until next time, stay lovely.